Here's an interesting chart. It tells you how many people are not in the labor force, and it's close to 95 million right now. It's never been this high before. Yes, almost 95 million people are not in the labor force. They're not counted in the unemployment numbers. This is a striking chart. We're going to go on and talk about this. But look how high this number is. It's just climbing. This chart is climbing and climbing and climbing. Let's talk about what this means. Well, we got 95 million people out of the labor force, and we have about 100 million people working. So let's go over some of these numbers. The numbers are important. And the reason why you're watching this video is you want to be informed. You want to know what's happening. And when you look at the numbers, you may know what's going to happen down the road. That's why we're talking about this. Let's go over it again. We've got almost 95 million people who are out of the labor force. We went over that. We saw the chart. And now you know that we have about 100 million people working. Okay? And we got about 50 million people on the SNAP card taking food stamps. And we got about 40 million government workers. When you add up all the contractors and everybody together, I know that number is hard to believe, but there are 40 million government workers. So we're going to go over these numbers, and I'm going to make it perfectly clear to you that these numbers do not add up. Something is horribly wrong. And that's why we're talking about this today, because quite frankly, this train is going down the wrong path and it's going to crash. This train is going to crash. Anybody who was in an airplane looking above could tell that this train is out of control. So, we got 100 million workers. Now that's really the critical number there, because those are the people who pay for everything. Those are the taxpayers. But here's the problem. Out of those 100 million workers in America today, most of them are service workers. They service people. They're not factory jobs. They're not the jobs that America once had 50 years ago. We all know that. We can agree on that, I hope. Now, so out of those 100 million workers, okay, let's go ahead and take out the Hollywood. Let's take out Silicon Valley. Let's take out Wall Street. Let's just take out that small group, because, those people are special. And those people, they make a lot of money, but they're just a really small group of people. That's not, your normal American is not working in Hollywood. Your normal American is not in Silicon Valley, and your normal American is not on Wall Street. So we're going to forget about those jobs. Yes, those are good jobs, but most of the jobs for you and me, if you and me had to go out and look for a job today, we'd be going to the restaurants. We'd be going to a minimum wage casino dealer, minimum wage security guards, anything to service people. So that's the problem. You got 100 million workers. Most of them are service workers, and they have to pay for the 40 million government workers. They've got to pay for the 50 million people on this welfare program, the SNAP cards. There's actually more. When you count up all the welfare programs, there's a lot more than 50 million, but we're just going to go with the SNAP card food stamp people. That's about 50 million. That's enough. Quite frankly, the 100 million workers cannot afford to take care of all these people. You got 95 million who are not in the workforce anymore. 95 million, they're not working, for God's sake. So you only got, there's like over 300 million people in this country. You only have 100 million workers. So for every worker, he's taking care of 2 other people. And it gets so. Let's not make it complicated. Here's what it is. Who are the service people taking care of? So let's go back to that. The workers. Who are the workers actually serving? Well, that's easy. When you're in a restaurant job in New York or a restaurant job in Miami, LA, it doesn't really matter where you're at. If you're servicing rich foreigners, you're servicing the public servants. who are making $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Yes, remember, we got 40 million public servants. We got 40 million government workers. And believe you me, they're making anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000 a year. They have the good jobs. So that's who the restaurant workers are serving. They're serving the rich foreigner. They're serving the public servants. And of course, they're serving the pensioners, because there was a time in America when we had good jobs, and those people, the baby boomers who got lucky, they worked 30 years in a good job, they got lucky, they retired, their pension is still there, their pension checks are still coming in, and they're spending them in the restaurants. So that's who America is serving. You go out there, you get a little job today, you're serving rich foreigners, you're serving the public servants, and you're serving the lucky pensioners who got lucky when back 40 years ago, America had jobs. They still got their pensions, and they're spending them at restaurants. So there's a little bit of background information, and let's talk about this some more. Well, so now that you have the information there, you got that information under your belt, you can think about it. How is 100 million workers going to take care of all these people? Like I said, you got the 40 million government workers, you got 50 million people on food stamps, you got 95 million people out of the workforce. I mean, a three-year-old could add these up. These numbers don't work. So let's go to the pensioners. The problem with the pensions is they're not solvent either. Everybody knows the pension funds don't have enough money in them. So all the baby boomers right now, the lucky ones, they had the good jobs 30 years ago, that's the problem. You got all these millions and millions of pensioners. They got lucky when America had jobs. Now they're collecting these pensions, but there's nobody working to pay for their pensions. Yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme. So the pension funds are not solvent. Everybody knows that there's not enough money in the pension funds. So again, we go back to the 100 million workers. So who's going to make these pension funds right again? Those 100 million McDonald's workers? Those 100 million people working in the restaurants and Burger King, and so they're gonna make all these pensions right again? I don't think so. And then you got these 40 million government workers, and they expect to get their $100,000 a year pension also. Yeah, they're working hard today, and when they retire after 20 years, they're going to expect to get their $80,000 to $100,000 a year pension. Guess who gets to pay for that? Yeah, the McDonald's workers, the Burger King workers. These numbers do not add up, people. That's what's scary. I mean, Bernie Madoff could tell you, but actually Bernie Madoff has told people. He was just copying the American system. The Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme is exactly what America is doing now with the Social Security system, the pension systems. It's all a Ponzi scheme. And the day that Bernie Madoff came clean was a very shocking day in America. And the day that America comes clean and the president says there's no money in the pension funds, that's going to be a shocking day in America. I want you to be prepared for it. Yeah, because it's one thing to know what's going wrong, but it's another thing to actually prepare for it. So that's what I'm here to tell you. There's something wrong in the system. The system's breaking down, obviously. How are you going to prepare for it? That's the question. Yeah, it's very easy to complain, but if you don't have any answers, if you don't have answers to the problem, don't even bother complaining. It's not that I'm complaining. I just want to wake you up and tell you that these numbers do not add up. There's something very wrong. And when Bernie Madoff America comes clean, I want you to be prepared for it. So if you're in a government job, be prepared to be laid off sooner or later. Because you cannot have 40 million government workers when you only have 100 million Burger King workers. You see? So if you're in a government job, be prepared to be laid off. Be prepared that your pension's not going to be there. And that's going to be shocking for these government workers. And they should prepare for it. They should maybe try to open up a business. They should try to learn how to make something, build something, because government jobs do not do anything constructive. Government jobs do not build anything. Look at the EPA. What did the EPA do? The EPA destroyed the river in Colorado. That's what government jobs do. They destroy things. They take taxpayers' money. They literally destroy rivers. They destroy jobs. So if you're in a government job, be prepared to lose your job pretty soon, because that equation doesn't work out. We cannot afford 40 million leeches. We cannot afford 40 million public servants who do not build anything, do not make anything. So again, little piece of advice: if you're a government worker and you're listening to this, be prepared. Learn a trade. Learn how to make something. And do it on your part-time. And learn how to be an air conditioning serviceman. Learn how to be a carpenter. Learn how to do anything. Be prepared. That government job's going to be gone. Now, how about if you're a Burger King worker? Well, it's tough. When you're a minimum wage worker and you're making minimum wage, it's tough to survive. But you have to just keep on. You just have to keep on going day by day. Day by day, we'll get through this. Do not rely on the government food stamps. They'll be gone also. Do not rely on government welfare. It'll be gone. So it's best to wean yourself off of the programs right now. Wean yourself off there. That'll force you to get tough. That'll force you to go out there and work a bad job, or maybe two bad jobs, and get prepared for this. It's getting rough out there, people. Good luck.